Hello and welcome to the Alpha Male Podcast, the podcast where we talk about what it means to be an alpha male the right way, with God at the center, made in His image, strong, dominant, in control. We don't apologize for that. Before we get into today's topic, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review. If you want to check out more, you can go to goodshepherdtraining.com. That's kind of your one-stop shop if you want to get some more visual stuff. I don't often mention it, but I am on Instagram if you guys want to go to Good Shepherd Training on Instagram as well. With that, I'll throw in an abbreviated bio. Not the pre-recorded one I normally do, just a quick one. First and foremost, I am a Christian. God is number one in my life and everything that I do. And I don't apologize for that either. This podcast is no different. Some other things that I've been blessed to do in life. I'm a Marine Corps combat veteran. Did a couple of tours in Iraq. After that, I was an urban warfare instructor for the Marine Corps, teaching urban and desert warfare for the United States Marine Corps and others. Also served in the U.S. Army, both full-time and part-time. Also served in law enforcement. I was L.A.P.D. I worked regular assignments and more specialized assignments. I've been blessed to be the commander of a tactical team in a large metropolitan area where our primary job was to stop active shooters. I've been a private contractor for a three-letter government agency that I won't specify. Been blessed to win more shooting competitions than I can remember. Been blessed to be a professional big game hunter and guide, and hunted mostly for putting meat on the table ever since I was a young man. Been blessed to hunt all over this beautiful country. And again, the most alpha male thing about me is that I follow the ultimate alpha male, Jesus Christ. With that, men, let's get into today's episode. I thought about this when I was going out running in a very large national forest recently. Ultralight E.D.C. Now, the why behind this, from my applications, this is generally what I will take when I go out running, when I'm going running in the wilderness, in the woods, or in the city. But you take this and apply this to your life. Maybe you bike, maybe you're on a bike, or maybe when you're helping a buddy move, or perhaps going to the beach, or there could be any number of things why you might want an ultralight E.D.C. Again, this is not my daily E.D.C. I've gone over that before. You can go out and check that out. This is my ultralight E.D.C. This is like what I consider the minimum if I'm going running out in the wilderness or something like that. Going running around a city. We'll get to a few differences between urban and rural. But I'll start with what I've kind of settled on for. Okay, I've got a few extra hours before it gets dark after work and I'm going running out in the wilderness or going exploring, reconnoitering. And this is what I'm going to grab if I'm, let's say, going faster than a normal walking speed. Okay, number one, I've kind of settled on this for my knife for this application, whether urban or rural, and it's a Benchmade bailout. I got this when I was working a corporate job, working on that task force to stop active shooters in the big city, making the big city money, but it's a Benchmade bailout. It is known for being super, super light and strong. I just looked it up and it said it weighs 2.7 ounces. Now, 2.7 ounces is very light. It's a light knife. It's a strong knife. 3V is known for being very strong and thin steel, being able to have both of those qualities. Again, the Benchmade bailout. I don't own a Benchmade bug out. That might be the only Benchmade that I own. But I've heard the Benchmade bug out is also a very good knife. But I have the Benchmade bailout. It's a Tonto blade. Not the most versatile, but one of the criteria I have if I'm going to carry a knife is it needs to be useful as a defensive tool, as a defensive knife, in addition to a bunch of other stuff. Hopefully that's the last thing I'd ever need it for, but it needs to serve that purpose. And the Benchmade bailout certainly is big enough to do that, and it does it at 2.7 ounces. Now I tied a small lanyard of micro cord to the back of mine, and I also put in a small ferro rod. The little skinny ferro rods, I don't know the size, but one fits in between the scales of that knife rather nicely and stays there. Mine's been there for quite a long time. It has not moved, and they do work. They can start a fire. So one of the reasons that has kind of been my go-to, and that ferro rod maybe adds a little bit of a fraction of an ounce on there, but not a lot, and it gives me another ability to start a fire. Now let's talk about some other options for this. Again, I've recommended the go-to for an EDC knife if you're getting started, or if you just want a good all-around EDC knife. I'll say it again, the Buck 110 Slim. And I have used the Buck 110 Slim for this. And if I was doing ultralight like fishing or ultralight scouting where I might be able to take game, I would switch to this. It's a better knife for this. The Buck 110 Slim is not heavy. It's heavier than the Bailout if I'm doing wind sprints and stuff, but it's still ultra light. It's ultra slim. You can tuck it into a pair of silkies and work out. And if it's small enough for that, I consider it ultra light. Another one, and it's a great knife, and I rarely wear it. It generally stays in my gym bag. Not because it's not a good knife, it's because I don't like crap around my neck. I'm not a neck knife guy. But if you're not a pocket carry guy, if you're not a guy that normally wears a belt or things like that, this may be a good option. I think it's a good knife, and it's, I believe, the cheapest one on the list. The Buck 110 Slim's not super expensive, so it's pretty close on that. But this one's going to be the Bone Tactical neck knife. Now, Bone Tactical makes some stuff that I like. This is the only knife that they make that I have, but it's the E.D.C Relentless, and it's one of their cheaper knives, and it's a neck knife, and it's super light, and it's got a good sheath, and it's a good design. Again, I just don't like neck knives, but a lot of people do, so I'm throwing that in there. It's a good choice, especially for more urban stuff. If you're gonna be like, let's say, running in the city, you drape that inside your tank top you're gonna be running in. It's easy to grab with either hand. It has a lot of benefits. I think it's a good knife. Again, I just don't like neck knives. It does come with a kind of what I would call Gucci like metal. It's just like a stainless steel chain. It's very much urban looking. I don't wear steel. I don't wear chains like gold chains, silver chains on my neck. If that's kind of your style, then it'll fit right in. It comes with that. I took mine off and put a piece of micro cord on it, which is basically if you take 550 cord and think about what it looks like and shrink it way down to like 100 and something pound test, which is still super strong. And I made a neck lanyard for it. And it's, like I said, a super nice knife. I just don't like neck knives, but for a lot of people, I think it would be a better option. And very much an urban design, I would say, but a great knife, a great defensive knife. It was designed for that. And a good cutting blade. It is a double-sided dagger, and in a lot of places those are felonies. I don't know where you live, so check that. It is a double-sided dagger. I'm not sure the blade length, but look into your legal laws for all the stuff I'm talking about today. Which brings me to, hopefully this is legal where you are, but the ultralight gun. If you listen for any length of time, you'll know that I like the Smith & Wesson J-frame. My like ultra small EDC and my ultralight EDC is a Smith & Wesson 360 PD. It is a scandium frame 357 Magnum that weighs 11 ounces and some change. 11 ounces and some change is very light for a firearm. It's very light for a lot of things. So it is a great, great tool. And again, it's 357 Magnum. Now, I do something kind of unorthodox. I usually carry the 357 Magnum with just straight 38 specials, maybe 38 special plus Ps, because we're living in the ammo apocalypse right now. My favorite load is the Smith & Wesson Defend, I believe 130 grain, just standard pressure, but I haven't been able to find that or get that, and I shot what I had. One of my other standard go-to loads is the Spear Gold Dot Short Barrel 135 grain, 38 Special Plus P. But I don't generally carry 357 Magnums in all the chambers because it gives you quite a bit of recoil, and the ability for fast follow-up shots gets diminished with that. What I will do is carry my last round as 357 Magnum 125 grain, and that's a solid copper load, good for penetrating. And my thought on that is in my last round, the ability to quick follow-up shot is negated. And I have that in there for bigger wildlife and things like that. I would often carry that load when I was a professional hunter and guide, and I had like a long gun, but this was my backup gun for angry animals. But you do have the ability to run for 357 Magnum in all the cylinders if you want. But I would advise you to shoot it first and see what it's like, because it's kind of like getting hit in the hand with an aluminum baseball bat. But the Smith & Wesson 360 PD is a good gun. I've had it for a long time. I've put a lot of miles on that gun. It is fantastic. But there are other options. Any of the air weights that are generally just 38 special, 38 special plus P are fine. The airweight series are great. You're not losing a lot in terms of weight if you go to the airweight over the scandium frame PD models of the Smith & Wessons, and they're quite a bit cheaper. And you're not giving up quality, you're just giving up the ability to shoot 357 magnums in an ultralight, super crazy alloy frame, which doesn't apply to most people. So that's a great choice. Also, Charter Arms, they're an American-made company, and they are I I call them the budget version of the Smith and Wesson, but they're good guns, and they make a lot of really cool guns that would be good for this. And I would still consider them in the ultralight category. They have that lightweight frame in the neighborhood of the Smith and Wesson Airweight. I'm also going to mention the Keltec P32. It's kind of fallen out of favor. People think the 32 is not a great defensive round. I would say it's not the best defensive round, but it's certainly fine, and that would be a good option. Any of your super thin, super light that I'm not a big fan of for everyday carry because they're very hard to shoot, they're much better than having nothing if you're talking about ultralight running or hiking or biking or something like that. Any of your thin, single stack, small, 380s, and take your pick of the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard or the Ruger LCP. The Ruger LCP and 22 long rifle will also be a great choice. If you're a Glock fanboy, I guess the best one for this would be the Glock 42. That's kind of my wife's ultralight carry when she goes hiking, running, things like that. That's the one that she's chosen, the Glock 42. So there you go. There's some ultralight options. I'm sure there are more, but those are ones that I'm familiar with and ones that I would recommend. They're super small and they're not hard to run with. Now, the how for running with this stuff. Now, I generally will run with one in each hand. I run with a knife in one hand and a gun in the other. And I'll put it in a black case that looks like a cell phone case. And I've done this in the city many times. I did this when I was commander of a tactical team in a large metropolitan area. I would run through the city all the time. I never had anybody bat an eye because I'm running. Most people run with like a cell phone and headphones. I don't run with headphones, but they run with like their cell phone. And if you put one of these small guns in a black sheath, a black holster, a black case, and just run with it literally in your hand, it looks like a cell phone. And unless somebody actually got up and looked in your hand and looked at the gun, there's really no way for them to tell. Again, do what's legal, look up what's legal, but carry it in something that covers the trigger to make it safe if you want, um, like a fully enclosed case that's still quick access. And there's a bunch of different options for this, but run with it in your hand. That's how I run with it. If you want to do that, again, it looks just like a cell phone. Unless you actually got up and inspected it, no one would be able to tell that it wasn't a cell phone. You can get them roughly the same size. If you put it in a small black case, it's about the same size as a cell phone. That's what I do. That's how I like to run with it in my hand, especially when I'm doing things like sprinting. Now, some other options are my wife really likes to run with these long distance runner packs. I would call them like a kidney pack. I don't know what they actually call them. Let me ask the wonderful wife here. Oh, it's called a running belt. I just asked her. Go figure. But a running belt. I don't run with these. I'm not a person that generally drinks water when I run or do long distance stuff a lot. I'll generally overhydrate. What they used to call in the Marine Corps and Desert Warfare is really overdrink, and I'll just run for however long and don't worry about it. But if you want to have water and your cell phone and things like that, one of these runner's belts, my wife uses them. A lot of top runners use them, so that must tell me that they work. So a runner's belt, you could easily put all this stuff in there if you wanted to do that. Also, I've tried the bicycle shirt thing, not because I like to bike, because I like to run, but the bicycle shirt have like pockets sewn in that same kind of area. The problem is I've never found a bike shirt that wasn't obnoxiously colored. If I could find like a neutral colored desert tan or light but not bright obnoxious color, well, maybe I would try that. But that would be another option, especially obviously if you bike because they're designed for that. So that would be another option for your ultralight E.D.C. The other option would be just putting them in your pocket if you're working out or doing something where you're not running. Obviously, you probably aren't going to be doing sprints with a revolver in your pocket. I mean, you could, but it's not a great practice. So figure out your own option and what works best for you in this ultralight EDC world. But those are just some options. I should mention, especially if you're going out somewhere wild, a small compass, like one of the small compasses, like a pocket or a button compass, with the caveat, don't buy the cheapest one you can find. I just expect it to work. Actually test it and make sure that it points true north, because I've learned from experience some of them don't. So get a decent quality, super small compass if that's something that you need. And that'd be on the more rural side. On the more urban side, tactical tip, if you're going, this is for traveling too, but if you're going urban running ultralight EDC, maybe throw a $20 bill underneath your insole of your shoe. You'll never notice that it's there, and you have $20 should you need it to buy water, to buy food, to buy whatever, a cab ride home if you twist your ankle or something. So just a $20 in your insole of your shoe. Also, if you're traveling and you get mugged, that's kind of an old traveler's tip to have money in your shoe. Going down to Tijuana or something, that's a good place to keep money. So you have a little bit more urban and rural flair there. A lot of you are going to take cell phones. A lot of times I will not, because if I'm going hiking in the wilderness, part of that is to get away and to get into an area where I'm not going to have cell coverage or cell service. But cell phone's not a bad thing to have if you're willing to carry the extra weight. But my cell phone probably weighs as much or close to or in the same ballpark as that 357 Magnum, and I'd much rather have that, especially if I don't have cell service. And this is going to bring me to the tactical tip of the day. The tactical tip of the day about your cell phone. I'm going to give you two here. Now, most of us have covers on our cell phone. So take that cover off and write your email address inside that cover. That way, if you should lose it, drop it, somebody finds it, if they're honest, they will have a way, especially if you have like a locked phone where they can't do anything, they will have a way to return it to you. If your phone's locked and they can't access it, they can't look up your information and give your phone back. But if you were to say, write this on the inside of your cell phone cover, or maybe even on the outside, your email address, obviously your phone number is not going to do much good because they have your phone, but your email address, you can write that in there and they can contact you to get your cell phone back to you. That's a good tactical tip. But another one, we talked about putting a $20 bill in your shoe. Another good option might be to put a $20 bill inside your cell phone case. How many times have you just gone out, not even ultralight EDC, I'm talking about just day to day, and you forget your wallet, but you remember your cell phone? And maybe you're out of gas, or maybe you just, for convenience sake, are at the store and you want something and you forgot your wallet. Well, now you have a backup 20 and it's in your phone case because you have your phone even though you forgot your wallet. I'm hoping that you guys are carrying your baby bug out bags, next to you in your car or whatever. But if you're not, this is another good option, redundancy. Have a $20 bill, or do more. Do a $100 bill if you're a baller, or do a $5 bill if you're pressed for money. But put a little bit of cash, in your cell phone case. That way, if something happens, you have a little bit of cash. Another small thing you can put in there is a razor blade. Either just one of the utility razor blades that are common for utility knives. I shave with a straight razor, or not a straight razor, actually a safety razor. It's like the old school single bladed razors. They're super thin. I've talked about them before, but they'll easily fit in a cell phone case. If you run the Havalons, like when I was a professional big game hunter and guide for cutting, for butchering, they're replaceable knife blades. If you're butchering 2 elk and a buffalo in a day, you can go through quite a few blades, and rather than having to stop and sharpening them, the Havalons are my favorite, but the Outdoor Edge also makes some good ones. They also make the replacement blades, which literally looks like a little knife blade that's super sharp. Those would also fit into a cell phone case rather easily. Don't forget about it when you go to the airport. Anyway, that's your tactical tip for the day. If you thought that information or any of the other information given today was worth $1, consider supporting on Patreon. More importantly, if you think the message of manliness is something lacking in today's society and you want to help get that out there, please consider supporting on Patreon. I like that these are free to listen to, but they are not free to produce and put out. This content costs money to get out there. If you want to help support the message, if you want to help support this, what I would consider ministry, the message of building and maintaining strong, dominant men in today's society, something I think is sorely lacking, especially in the Western world. If you want to get that message out there, if you want to grow the message, consider being a part of that, not just a passive part, a listener, but being an active alpha member of the community. Consider supporting. And again, you can do that by going to goodshepherdtraining.com and supporting on Patreon. That's the number one way. If you want to check out some merchandise, you can also buy merchandise. If you don't just want to give money to the ministry, you want something for it, go and check out the merchandise. Again, goodshepherdtraining.com. And there's a Patreon link on there. There's also merchandise on there. So if you want to check that out, feel free. And if you want to not do any of that and you don't want to give any monetary support, again, if you've listened to this episode or more than one episode, please consider leaving a review, scrolling down, clicking some stars, leaving your review of the podcast. That's going to bring us to the tactical verse of the day. And today's reading is going to come to you from the book of 1 Samuel. Then David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword, with a spear, with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your head from you. This day I will give the carcass of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel." Now these are the words of David, whom the Bible says is a man after God's own heart. We learn in Exodus 15, the Lord is a man of war. He didn't make you a weak man. David was a strong man, a mighty warrior who killed countless men. There's much to be learned from this story about bravery and honor and tactics, about being a mighty man of God, an alpha male. Look at the alpha males in the Bible for an example: David, Gideon, and of course the ultimate, Jesus Christ. Let he who has no sword sell his cloak and buy one. The Gospel of Luke. With that, men, I want to say thanks for listening. Have a blessed day. Get out there. Be strong. Prove yourself a man.